own, and they're looking to increase it to 75% or 75 cents. So that would be potentially good news for us if they do it. You could probably guess better than me if that's going to occur down there. So some of the things that, like I said, that's our sole source of revenue for the 911 center is the levy. In the United States, the way 911 is funded varies from state to state. The wire lines, they go anywhere from 20 cents to $2 a piece. In Ohio, they're 50 cents. So you can see we're on the lower end of that. The wireless runs from 20 cents to $3. Again, we're at 25, so we're at the lower end of that scale. And the voice over IP fees range from $0 to $6 a piece, and we're at 0. So there's a bit of a funding gap nationally for what we're putting up with here in Lorain County. That said, I think we do pretty well with the funds that we do bring in. They're substantial funds. It's a lot of money. There's been a burn rate that I discovered when I started working here that almost made me fall out of my chair. But then I started looking into it, and there's a reason for it. There was funding for this new world CAD system for the police departments that was pretty much paid out of county funds. The enhanced 911 system that we have in Lorain County that's not universal across the state of Ohio was again funded through 911 funds. And the ability to text 911 was also funded that way. So we've spent a lot of money historically to get our technology up to where it needs to be. And I think that's the main reason for the burn rate. I see the burn rate slowing. We just did the New World thing, and I believe that's coming out of rescue funds, so it's not a big impact on the budget. Something else that we've started for the first time, and I've already talked about this, is everybody that's hooked to our CAD is paying a fee for that thing. I believe that we can do this again on a renewal, because this is a scary time asking for money, and it's very understandable. But a lot of good people were here today. There's a lot of really good programs that rely on this funding, and I believe that any organization, everybody's got to be successful. You don't want to pit people against each other. That just doesn't do anybody any good. Everything we do in Lorain County is important. So the way I look at this, it's my charge to operate within the budget you guys give me. It's just that simple. And some of what I'm doing is, getting rid of duplicated services, paying for two different things. It's something I work on every day, trying to reduce the amount of money we're spending. And that number is going down. What I'd like to do is sit down and come up with a business plan going into the future with the money that we have now and making that work. I think that's the best course of action. I believe it's the most responsible course of action. But it's really important that we not lose this funding at 911. It's a lot of money. and I don't think it's funding we want to pick up in the general fund if it were to fail. And if it were to fail and we had to use general fund money, I think there'd be a whole lot less people working there. And that just is not a good combination. Just real quickly, we're the sole answering source for 911 in Lorain County. Every 911 call comes into our dispatch center on Burns Road. Last year we brought in over 361,000 calls, which is just short of 1,000 calls a day. It's a very busy place. We dispatch 26 fire and EMS agencies, 7 law enforcement agencies. We provide pre-arrival instructions, services for the hearing impaired, just all kinds of stuff that people just take for granted, but they're necessary for us to get help going to these people that need help. I mean, you have, that interpretive service thing is really important. It's amazing the different languages that come through Lorain County, and we have to have access to that quickly. It's pretty amazing. It's an expensive service, but it's well worth the money, and it's got to be paid for. I believe that if we build an organization over there with the right people on the team, with the right consultants, giving us expert opinions so we're making wise decisions going forward and not wasting money on decisions that weren't so good, that we could be successful. So I believe that a renewal would be the way to go, but ultimately that's not my decision. I pledge to you that no matter what you decide, I'll manage it the best way I can. But it's a busy place, it's a necessary place, but just like everything else we've heard today, it's all pretty important and pretty necessary. So beyond that, I don't have much more to say about it. I think it's pretty clear cut. I got a bunch of papers I can read numbers to you, but I don't think that's a good idea. Does anybody have any questions or anything?
Commissioner?
All I heard was that you want a renewal and not an increase. That's what I just heard. I also heard that you're trying to create a business plan, which I like. Well, I like what I'm hearing, but I would like to have that yesterday. So
I agree.
when do you think you could have something presented to this board, or even to, I would like to look at it as quickly as possible, because as I said earlier, we're 4 months away.
I agree.
And all I heard right now is that you don't think a .75 will work, which will make 911 break even, but you believe that a half mil will pass. That's all I heard. I heard a lot of vague comments. I didn't hear specifics. So not to put you on the spot, but if you could, what kind of time frame do you think you need to organize like what you just said today and kind of sit down with me and go over that?
A week.
A week? Okay, good. Okay. That'd be great if we could set something up next week.
I'd appreciate it, yeah.
Okay, and you're sitting back there by Amy, she'll get you on right away.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I can get you what I have and, some of the ideas that I have.
Right,
and,
that's what I need.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because the quicker we can nail this down,
Absolutely.
the better it's going to be for the community.
Yeah, and I know that recently I sat down with the director and your leadership team. We went through pretty much the budget line by line and really drilled down on it along with the county administrator, trying to figure out where the duplicate services were in there, trying to figure out which contracts were expiring on some different services, and what some of those new costs were going to be. And also there were some costs, I think, that were being picked up by 911 that probably should be picked up by another department or two. And so that would require adjusting their budgets to cover those things. But Commissioner Moore, just to kind of answer your question, I think we started really making substantial progress to where it can work within a renewal, which I think is the goal here to achieve. I think anything outside of renewals will be difficult. And I certainly think in this climate, renewals may face their greatest challenge ever, which is not a good thing, especially when your services are so critical and Mars services are so critical and drug enforcement is so critical. It's all critical. Yes. So I hope that voters will understand the immense importance and value of these levies as renewals, and we'll continue to support them. But I felt like we made a lot of good progress in those meetings, and it seemed like some of the budgetary concerns I thought were going to be more in line with making it possible for a renewal.
Good.
Again, I want to see numbers.
Sure.
We're at a $2 million deficit, and if this board decides to move forward and go with even a larger system, I'm going to ask you what's it going to cost for those carrying costs. I'm going to ask you what it's going to cost to move forward, and I'm not going to go into details right now, but I think you know what I'm talking about. So we'll talk next week.
No problem.
Thank you.
And I think some of the things we worked on, Commissioner, I think you'll like some of the things that we see. I think you'll be happy.
Okay.
So, or at least
I like
happy.
I like to be happy.
A little more happy.
Okay. A little more. That's M-O-O-R-E.
There you go, M-O-R-E, happy. Okay.
Ouch.
Don't worry, be happy. Okay.
Okay, very good.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks for your